Sylvia, I have a question for you.
Yeah, what's your question, Jake?
What year were you born in?
I was born in 1999.
You had to think about that one for a second.
That one. It's been a long time. 23 years, man.
I know.
It's a long time.
So that's really weird because I was also born in 1999.
What?
Yeah, I know.
And were you born like a week or so after I was born?
I think like 2 to 3 weeks. But anyhow, yeah. So
you were born
2 weeks after
I
you.
was born.
I'm gonna check a calendar just to do the math, but
you're right.
Basically, 2 weeks after.
I know what you mean. And today's episode is related to when we were born. Not necessarily birthdays. We're not going to talk about birthdays. We're going to talk about generations. Yeah,
generations. Because
different generational stuff.
For those of you that were also born in 1999 or 97, 98, you kind of feel a little, what am I?
Yeah, like in the middle. You're not necessarily a millennial, but you are also not a Gen Z. I mean, technically, I think the definition or the closest definition we can find, or the closest placement is Gen Z.
Yes,
right?
Yeah. So, but Pew Research Center uses 1996 as the last year of millennials.
Right.
And everything after that is Gen Z. In
but
Googling things, I found the term zillennial for people like us who don't really feel part of either.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Gen Z, it's basically millennials. Well, I mean, not really, but I mean, yeah. So, yeah, it's because we're in that weird in-between that we're like, we don't necessarily all act like Gen Z, but we're also not, like, completely millennials. We're, like, in that, like, middle ground that we relate to some millennial stuff, but also relate to some Gen Z stuff, but at the same time, we hate Gen Z, and we also don't really like millennials.
We hate Gen Zs, that's for sure. If you're watching, we'll bleep your name, but...
I was like, you just outed her.
To my sister, if you're watching, I'm sorry. We don't hate you. We just hate your tribe.
It's just like the culture behind, not the culture, but you know what I mean. I
also found in some definitions of how they break down the years, a very frustrating one. That says millennials were born between 1981 and 1996. Gen Z was born in 1995 through 2012.
That makes no sense.
It doesn't overlap, at least the way generations are supposed to work.
Right.
So I don't quite get that. And then also the fact that they say it stops at 2012, and now kids born 2013 and on are a new thing.
A new generation.
Which makes sense because at that point you're already at almost 20 years in 2012. It would be 2015 would be a 20-year span. So we're already on something after Gen Z. I feel like we're late to this conversation, even talking about Gen Zs.
Well, the thing is, like, we see it more because Gen Zs have, like, their own opinions now. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, if we would have talked about before, we would not really know that much about Gen Zs because they'd be kids, babies. And so it's like, okay, technology and toys might be different and stuff, but, like, we don't know their personalities. But now they're big enough for us to know their personalities, and it's a generational thing because it's across weird. It's just different. Like across every, and it doesn't matter where you're from. It's like very distinguishable like stuff that they do. Yeah. So
they're TikToking, they're vaping. What else are they doing?
I thought Snapchat was dead because maybe I'm too old, and to me Snapchat's dead. But they still use Snapchat. I've met some 18-year-olds that still have Strix and use Snapchat, and I'm like, so maybe I'm too old. I'm going back to Facebook.
That's very interesting.
I'm too old now.
Yeah, you are old. You use Facebook. It's very funny because to me, getting Facebook was like a big deal. I was like,
because
Mom, like I want to get Facebook.
Like,
and she's like, you have to be like, once you're a teenager, you can have it.
Yeah,
once
you have
turn
to be
13.
like 13. Yeah, exactly.
And now it's like 5-year-olds are on Facebook.
I know.
And also only old people use it. It's a weird dynamic.
And the thing is, like, when I got a Facebook, I was probably a little bit younger than 13. I was like, I don't think I was 11. Was I 11? Maybe 11 or 12. I mean, it wasn't like super
around
younger
there.
than that, but around then. And I only had it because I liked the games that they had there. They had Pet Society.
Ooh, it sounds familiar, but I don't remember what it was like.
I think it's Society. I don't know because there
was a really
in
cool
Spanish
one.
Or so
yeah.
But I loved it because you had like you had your character, which was a little pet. You could make it whatever animal you wanted, and you customize it, and then you customize your house, and you had to feed him, and you had, like, you played, and you could have, like, visitors, like, your friends from Facebook could, like, come and play with you, or, like, take pictures with you, whatever the heck. And so I loved that game, and then they also had Candy Crush, so they had just games, and I loved Facebook games, and so that's why I had them, because I barely knew how to, like, read. I mean, like, I, like, when I see, like, you know, when Facebook does, like, the memories, basically, so, like, oh, you posted this, like, 11 years ago. Oh, sometimes I can't even read it. I'm like, what is this? Like, there's just, like, random letters that I'm like, you used to write like that.
Yeah.
But on purpose, not because you were, like, illiterate.
Right, you're just illiterate, yeah. You're just being
like,
dumb, goofy kid.
You know, instead of, like, putting the D-E of de, would just be D.
Claro.
And it's just, like, stupid stuff. And I regret it.
I hated the accent I just said that with, by the way. That was very weird. Did you hear me say that? You said instead of putting the D-E for day, I would just put D, and I was like, claro. Did you miss that completely? No. It was rough. Anyways, because we're doing it in English, but I was like, we're talking about Spanish now, so... Oof, that was gross. But anyhow.
Well, now I use Facebook, not even for what Facebook is supposed to... Well, I mean, I guess what it's supposed to be. But, you know, Facebook is to, like...
you want.
Share things.
Yeah,
like,
but you
usually
just use it for
post
memes.
And stuff. I look at memes and share memes that I see because they're funny. But I'm not, like... putting,
actually,
like,
socializing with people.
Exactly, like,
it's
writing
just
things.
meme repost. That's it.
I don't even comment on my... It's very rare when I comment on my friend's post when I think it's very funny or something. Yeah. But other than that, I just see the meme, laugh at the meme, share the meme. Sometimes I don't even share the meme. I just laugh at it.
And so I feel like Facebook is a good metaphor in that way for how we're in between the two generations, because to me, Gen Z just doesn't use Facebook.
No, I don't. Most
ancient
of them
technology
might not even have a Facebook.
Right, probably not.
They
and then,
their Facebook or
whereas
something.
Millennials, I feel like, do actually use Facebook still. Mm-hmm. And so what we're going to do is first we're going to take a BuzzFeed quiz to try and figure out which way we lean more towards, because they...
Well, you're going to take it and then...
Yeah, exactly.
It's just going to be a mess.
Sorry,
you had something in there.
That's okay. But anyhow, and then we can maybe try and look for just some other defining characteristics and explore how close we feel to them, because on the one hand... I know a Gen Z when I see one, but I don't know how to describe them. Like I said a second ago, it's like TikToks, vape. How else do I... Like, they talk funny in both real life and on the internet.
That is true.
And then millennials...
their humor is very different. But that's the thing,
it's very dark humor.
That you
right,
see, though.
So I'm a little... it's a little tough to explain.
They're very into... And we talked about this with some cousins of mine, because they were asking what this meant, because it's not like... a thing that happens outside of the U.S. maybe. I mean, it might happen, but they don't have this word, and it's like the aesthetic. Yeah. So it's very like everything you have to fit into one aesthetic. You know what I mean? Like I feel like for Gen Zs, like for us, I mean, of course, you know, clothing and fashion kind of moves everybody. You know. Yeah. But for us, it's not really like, oh, this is my aesthetic and this is like the only thing I wear whatever I want. You know what I mean? And I feel like Gen Z is more like, well, I don't even know, like emo stuff. Yeah. And so this is my aesthetic, and so I'm only gonna wear black and white, and it's gonna look cool, but it's just gonna be my aesthetic. You know what I mean? And like, there's other people that do that aesthetic, but it's not like, oh, I'm gonna, you know, try something new. It's like very weird. Yeah.
So anyways, we're going to try and figure this out, and this quiz is already making me laugh with the very first question. When you hear the name JoJo, who do you think of? JoJo Siwa or JoJo? I have no idea who JoJo is.
Me neither.
So that must be like an early 90s thing.
I guess.
And until a few months ago, I was blissfully unaware of who JoJo Siwa is. But now I do know who JoJo Siwa is. Yeah. And I'm the worse off for it. But that's who JoJo is to me. Do you remember writing on VHS tapes with Sharpies?
Oof. Well, I mean, I don't remember myself writing because I was a kid, but I definitely remember my
So I had VHS tapes. Yeah,
no, me too. But it's not me that I was writing because I didn't know how to write.
That was my point too. So I feel like bad answering no because I don't remember writing on them, but I remember having them.
Oof.
So that's a lot
of my cartoons were in VHS.
Right. I would watch the same, like, 6 episodes of Scooby-Doo on VHS over and over.
I had a show, too.
And we even had...
Juana La Iguana. And we had, like, 3, not even that many VHS. But the thing is, like, there was, like, 2 episodes per VHS, like, the first time. And so I would just... watch them on repeat, and that was my thing. VHS.
That's hilarious.
I even remember when we got our first DVD player.
Wow. What? I don't remember that, actually.
I remember that. I remember exactly when my mom bought it, and we had it, and I was like, oh my gosh, so cool.
Thin. It's just a circle. That's crazy. Everything's been squares till now.
And, like, the VHS player was, like, a gigantic thing, and this thing was, like, super, like, thin, and just put the CD, and it just...
Crazy. I'm gonna say no because the question's asking if we remember writing, and I don't.
Yeah.
That's a little mean. When you hear what do you think of when you hear the words TikTok, the Kesha song, or the app?
Well, that's also a tricky one because TikTok is so big right now.
Yeah.
It's hard not to think of the social media, but I love the Kesha song.
Yeah. For me, even nowadays, like, of course, I assume people are referring to the app. But I will still sometimes hear you say TikTok and start singing the song. So I'm going to go with the Kesha song. Okay. Did you ever rank your top 8 on MySpace? Yes or no? I never used MySpace.
Me neither.
Yeah.
I don't think that was a thing in our country. It
might not have been.
We had Messenger, but we didn't have MySpace.
Messenger meaning Facebook Messenger?
No,
or like messenger.com, .co,
yeah,
.vz? Like, what was
I don't know. We just called it Messenger. I'm sorry. It was like a Microsoft thing.
Okay, that's fine. Don't need to be sorry. We might have had Messenger. I don't know. I've never heard of it.
Whoa. I'll look it up.
Skype was a thing.
Yeah, we never used Skype, though.
We would because...
I mean, I would, like, maybe 2 times. That's it.
Maybe, like, 2 times. We used it more because... Oh, that's actually kind of a funny story of just... Like, we kind of talked about this on the Spanish episode yesterday. Or I guess they're coming out the same day if I edit this in time. But anyways, we talked about this... That was my thought, but we'll figure it out. But we talked about it in the Spanish episode of how we grew up at a very interesting time for technology where a lot of change happened. Whereas, like, today, kids that have been growing up in the last 5 years, like, yeah, smartphones have changed their shape and their processors have gotten faster, but nothing as monumental as the changes that happened while we were there happened. Yeah. Like, our parents had typewriter to computer. That was pretty big. We grew up when smartphones became a thing and when computers got way smaller and more accessible.
Just
the big one being smartphones, like, in general. But, yeah, CDs and Blu-ray happening. So, anyways, kids today we haven't done that yet. Like, VR is kind of
CDs.
that.
That's how I would listen to music.
Yeah,
CDs
that's
or
crazy.
Radio, of course, but like that's
Mm-hmm.
it. Like I used to just play CDs at home and like dance to them and stuff.
So, anyways, another example of that is with video calling. And when we were living in Hawaii when my dad was deployed to Iraq, and that would have been, I want to say, like 06 to 08. I don't think it was a full 2 years. I think it was like a year and a half he was there. But at that time, we didn't have just laptops and computers that could easily do video calling through like every app. That's the thing too, is like Instagram, WhatsApp, Facebook, Skype still exists. Like there's so many services that do it. Just did not exist. Snapchat. Everything. FaceTime exists. I don't have Apple, but FaceTime exists nowadays.
Well, you have the Google Duo
Google
thing,
Duo, yeah.
all this stuff.
But back then, none of that existed. And so when my dad was in Iraq... Yeah,
now we have
Zoom. We have Zoom now. So when my dad was in Iraq, what we did through the military was you scheduled a time to go to a room on the military base where they had a big box TV and a camera set up to do a video call and talk in real time. And again, I don't remember it super well because I was young, but I definitely remember going to those to talk to him, and it was just crazy because like you had to set a time and drive somewhere and all this crap, and now it's like and so
You can be driving, and don't do it when you're driving, but like you can literally be in the toilet and receive a call.
And so 6-7 years later, when he deployed to Afghanistan, we just did it all from our computers, and we could call him whenever. Obviously, he was working most of the time, but we could text and just be like, "Hey, let's do a call right now."
Because of
the so that's technology. One thing that changed like crazy. But anyways, MySpace was basically the predecessor to Facebook. That's the extent of my knowledge. Okay. It was a social network pre-Facebook, and it was big with kind of like, I wasn't around, but the perception that I have is it was kind of big with the people who were on the nerdy cutting edge of technology, like, oh yeah, MySpace. I think regular people too, it was like a social network thing, but I never used it. That was already like defunct by the time I would have wanted to have a social media. I think it might still exist. I'm not sure. Actually, no, I don't think it does anymore. No. But point is, I never ranked my top 8 on MySpace. I don't even know what that means. Maybe that's top 8 people. But no, never done that. Next question. When you think of Ice Cube's acting, which movie comes to mind? None.
Or Are We There
There's
Yet?
Not a none answer. So Friday or Are We There Yet?
I don't think I've ever seen Friday.
I've not seen either of them, but I have only heard of Friday. I had not heard of Are We There Yet? Okay.
Movie.
I guess I'll put Friday for myself. We can do Are We There Yet? I feel like we're doing a hybrid anyway. So.
Did you click the right one? Okay.
Yeah. Did you grow up watching Hannah Montana or The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody? Hell yes. That's a big yes. That was... So again, that's what's weird is like, that's clearly, well, at least to me, yes to that question means millennial. But I feel like they might be actually putting that in Gen Z category.
Why?
I don't know. Well, because of the year cutoff. That's my point. Because that was the thing we watched. But if they're like kids born after 96 or Gen Z... But that's, the image I have of Gen Zs is not watching those shows. No,
not at all.
Maybe they were around for Sweet Life on Deck.
Yeah.
Barely. But
and,
to
like,
me...
the last seasons of Hannah Montana. But
to me, that is very much millennial stuff. And that was...
And I think that's
my show was Sweet Life of Zack and Cody.
I like both of them. I love them.
I watched one episode of Hannah Montana, and I was like, how do they not recognize her?
Well, I mean, of course, everybody thought that, but it was still a good show.
It was fine. So again, I didn't watch it that much, but.
Okay.
Which jeans do you prefer, loose or skinny?
I hate skinny jeans, but I wore the crap out of them.
Because I was gonna say.
I feel like that's why I hate them so much, because I wore them so much that now like my legs are like, please, girl. And also, I was skinnier back then because I was a kid, and so they were not as uncomfortable.
Like little stick kid. Doesn't really matter.
Exactly, but when like you have thighs, it's like it's uncomfy. So I'm on the loose side, not on the skinny anymore. And I know they're trying to make a comeback. Please don't do that to yourself or others. I refuse to wear skinny jeans. I refuse to wear low-rise jeans.
Yeah, low-rise is frightening.
That's a Gen Z thing, I guess. That I like.
That it's coming back?
What do you mean?
That low rise is coming back? Is it a Gen Z thing?
No. Low rise coming back is a millennial thing.
Oh, okay.
But wanting to wear high rise is a Gen Z thing.
Yeah, big time. And you do that.
I have it on
every single day.
Yeah, I would not go back to low rise.
Okay, well there you go.
Loose jeans.
Loose. Was your first cell phone a flip phone?
That is a tricky question because my first cell phone was not a flip phone, but it was not a smartphone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was one of those, like, the ones I don't even know. Like, it was not a flip phone. It just had the screen and the buttons and the top.
Yeah. So kind of like a BlackBerry type thing where the keyboard was on there, or was the keyboard also touchscreen?
No, it was like this.
It was the physical buttons.
Yeah, the physical buttons.
Like a BlackBerry.
I guess, yeah. Well, when you say BlackBerry,
was it the whole keyboard, or was it just the numbers?
It was the numbers. Okay. That's what I said like this. Sorry, I'm pointing at
you can't point at things for the podcast. That's why I was trying to clarify.
Well, if you're just listening, you have to watch it.
Watching on YouTube or Spotify, you can see.
Well, so the keyboard was the numbers, and you have to press the numbers as many times as the letter that you wanted. That's the phone I had. That was my first phone. And then I did have a flip phone.
Okay.
But my first one was not a flip phone.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to clarify. So it's a tricky question because
it is
yes
a
and
tricky
no.
Question.
You know what I mean?
I agree.
Like, I had an old phone, but it was not a flip phone first because those were more expensive because those were like, ooh, pretty cool. Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's funny. Yeah.
I had, not fake, it was a real phone, but it didn't work anymore, and I just used it to play with it because I felt cool because it was a phone. I just played with my flip phone. That should be a question. Do you signal a phone like this, or like this, or like this?
So for those just listening, the 3 different ways are: 1, with you do a thumbs up and also stick out your pinky. Mm-hmm. That's the way you do it. That's
how you do it,
how you answer a phone, because there's a speaker and a microphone. But apparently, kids nowadays just do a flat palm.
Either a flat palm. Well, I also
or they will just hold it like you're holding anything, like
yeah.
a Lego man hand, kind of in a C.
Yeah, exactly.
And you hold it up to your ear.
That's so stupid.
It's dumb, but like, we're old. You know what I mean? Because I completely understand why they do it. It's all they've ever been exposed to.
Exactly.
And so they're just gonna start doing that. Why would they do what their silly parents do?
I guess, yeah.
It makes me very sad because it should be this way.
Yeah, because it doesn't make sense, because it's not like before people had to hold the phones like that. They didn't have to hold the phones like that. It was just mimicking how the...
So if you think about it, we could have done this all the time. Just made a fist and held it up.
That's how,
as if you were holding a phone with the...
That's how you hold the phone, right? But they were mimicking the speaker.
Right.
And
but now you don't have to mimic that.
I guess not.
Yeah, that's the thing. Poopy. It's very poopy, my love.
Let's say yes, because what was your first phone?
It was not a flip phone.
Dang it.
So that's the thing.
Okay, I guess say no.
My first one, I think, was fully touchscreen, but it was a brick. Like, it was a brick of a touchscreen phone. Wow. Well, and I'm struggling to remember whether
how old were you when you had the first phone? I think that's also important.
12, I think.
Okay, so I had a phone when I was younger. I think my first phone I had was when I was 9.
Okay.
And it was because my mom had to work so much, and she was a single parent, so I was in other people's houses all the time.
Right. You need to be able to get in touch.
So I needed to be able to get in touch. So she got me a phone when I was younger. So I think that also makes a difference when you got your first phone.
Definitely.
Because you were 12, and by then there were touchscreen phones, and I didn't get one until I was like 15 or something like that, because all my other phones were older. But that's just also another point, that's just another thing, but yeah, so my phone was older, I guess, because I got it when I was younger.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Because when I got my first phone, I don't remember, they were not like touchscreen phones.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember, because I know it was touchscreen. I think it might have still slid out a keyboard when you held it horizontally. But you could snap that up, and it was touchscreen when you held it vertically.
Nice. I did have one that flipped like that, but it was not touchscreen at all.
I gotcha.
It was like a normal phone, like I don't know how to describe it. Yeah, like a normal with the numbers and letters inside the numbers, and then you flipped it, and it was almost like a keyboard, like a BlackBerry keyboard, where it's just like kind of like a computer keyboard.
Right. And that's an interesting thing, too, talking about the age where you get a kid a phone. Because, again, when you said 9, I almost fell out of my chair. But, again, I understand, like, single parent, you need to be able to communicate.
The thing is, like, it's also you have to think what type of phone you had. Because
too.
If you think right now of a 9-year-old, a phone, like a smartphone, that's, like, a little crazy because you have access to so many things.
Right.
But my phone, I could literally just
call home, call the police,
maybe send a text message if I knew how to write, and
which, as we talked about with Facebook, you probably didn't.
Exactly. And then play the little I just like the snake game.
Yeah. Oh, that's a fantastic
That's all you
one.
could do with that phone, or get robbed, and you wouldn't have a phone anymore. But nowadays, when you think of giving a kid a phone,
it's like, here's the latest iPhone.
Exactly.
Go crazy.
And because you can do so many things, but back then, it's like, it's still a big responsibility.
Of course.
But it's not like you're gonna basically get in trouble.
It's not as bad a thing.
Because none of your other friends had phones. Right. So it was just literally for you to call home and be like, Mom, can you pick me up from school or something? You know what I mean? That's it.
Right.
So.
And so that's what's crazy to me, is it seems like every kid nowadays has their own phone, or at least an iPad. We all know about iPad kids.
Yeah.
But it seems like they all have either an iPad or a phone, and lazy parents are just like, here you go.
Here you go, watch something.
Go crazy.
I'll do something else.
Because, it keeps them occupied. So I get it. You want them to stop bugging you and stop crying, but, like, I don't know. To me, it seems really bad for the kids.
Let's go back to the quiz.
Okay. So, no, our first phone was not a flip phone. When you hear the word Millie, what do you think of? Millie Bobby Brown or A Millie by Lil Wayne?
I don't know that song.
Never heard of that song. So.
Millie Brown. And also, Stranger Things is so big right now. Like,
yeah.
You know.
Did you memorize your friends' phone numbers so you could do 3-way calls on your landline?
I never did a 3-way call, but
No.
I memorized my friends' phone numbers. My mom's, mine, but my friends too, because I would just call them at home or something. Yeah, not for those purposes, but yes, I did memorize my friends' phone numbers.
I remembered my family's,
or at least my best friend.
In case like I was ever separated and didn't have a phone with the contacts, like okay, I can call my mom from whatever phone. But never to do the 3-way call.
I mean, no, never to do the 3-way call. But I do remember knowing at least my best friend's phone number. So at least one of my friends' phone numbers I knew. And then, of course, my mom and my grandmother's stuff.
Yeah. So, no, because we didn't do it for the 3-way call, or yes, because we did memorize numbers?
I think yes, because
that's
back
what they're
then,
getting at.
you know, yeah.
When you hear the name Harry, who comes to mind? Harry Styles or Harry Potter? So that's where we need to do separate quizzes, because for me, it's Harry Potter is the first thing when I hear that name. Well,
then I'll do that. My quiz is going to be faster, so you can just finish your quiz.
For sure. Thank you. Harry Potter. Because, I remember... When did I read the first Harry Potter book?
I never read the books.
I think
just saw the movies.
Nice. I think in 4th grade, 3rd or 4th grade was when I read the first one. And I remember reading, because the first one is like the shortest of all of them. I think I read that book in a day. And I was like, oh, wow, this is cool. And then you kind of grew up with the movies, and it's like, wow, that's crazy. So anyways, did you grow up watching MTV shows like Next, Date My Mom, and Room Raiders? No.
I've heard of them, but I didn't.
Yeah.
My mom didn't let me watch that. Oh, she also didn't know what that was.
And finally, which hair parting do you prefer?
Oof.
Middle part, side part? So I didn't even, because until we started dating, I didn't interact with women much. I didn't really know that this was a thing that had changed, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But now I'm very conscious that middle part is the modern look and side part was the early thousands kind of deal.
Yeah. So I started doing middle part only a couple of years ago. But I had side part, I think, I had a side part like even my first year of college. I started doing, I think I started doing middle part when I was like sophomore. So that
Gen
was
Z's got to you.
3 years ago or something like that. I do think it looks better though. Now, like looking back at my pictures and looking back at anybody, like even Rihanna here, because they have Zendaya with the middle part and Rihanna with the side part. Rihanna is a beautiful woman, but like the hair is just not good.
I'm team side part because
Really?
I'm a dude and I wear side parts. I mean, to your question of what looks better, I really don't know. I'm trying to imagine a side part on you right now.
You can try it.
Can try it real quick.
Yeah, it's gonna look weird because my hair's not used to doing that anymore. So it's gonna look like super.
Oh wow, yeah.
And it would be on
It's
the
funny
side
because
on
like
my
you barely did it,
head,
and
though.
it instantly reminds me of old photos of you that I've seen.
Yeah, because my part would be on the side, on the
That's
side.
so
I guess.
funny.
That's as
Wow.
best as it's gonna get. Look how ugly that looks. I mean, it's not that ugly.
Yeah, so that's my point is I actually do like it. It's just very different, of course, and it's, you just did it in 2 seconds just now.
Yeah.
But
I don't think it looks better.
yeah, I don't agree
But
with
I feel
the
like
middle
you're
part looks
way
inherently
more
better.
Oh, but the thing is, like, it's a hairstyle that is a little bit more flexible.
That's
to
true.
Whatever you're gonna do with your hair.
That's true.
And I do think it looks good. It's just, I don't know. It's very different, I guess.
Yeah.
You're Gen Z.
I got Gen Z.
I'm probably gonna get
You
Gen Z
care
too.
deeply about the environment. You view society through a morally conscious lens, and you hope to leave this world a better place than you found it. You might spend a bit too much time on your phone, but you also know how to harness the power of technology for good. I'd just like to say for the record that no Gen Z knows how to do that. Sylvia also got Gen Z. It wasn't really that interesting to watch the quiz again, so we're going to skip ahead now. In 1994, now identifying as Gen Z because millennials being treated like old people. Okay, that wasn't a great sentence, but
punctuation. You remember the thing that Gen Z.
It is true though. I do feel like millennials seem young, like see themselves as still young even though they're
100%.
not. Like even at the top end of millennials, like 35-year-olds are like, well, but we're still like kind of cool and stuff, and like they never grew up. I feel like that's a millennial stereotype, that they never grew up.
That they never grew up.
And right now, people kind of our age kind of rag on Gen Zs, but they haven't grown up yet. Millennials have. Yeah. And Gen Zs are like, oh, those dumb kids, but like
they're kids.
They are kids, actually. Whereas millennials, it's kind of like, get over yourselves. You're adults now. Just do the thing.
Do the thing, yeah.
And again, we're clearly talking in stereotypes entirely.
Yeah,
but,
of course.
Obviously, some of them have grown up. We're still looking for them, but we assume that some of them have.
That's mean.
It is. But anyhow, that's my thought there. There's this other funny one about reading a lot about how Gen Z hates millennials for our dumb side parts, as if the middle parts were not a key part of our proud millennial heritage.
Right.
They definitely were. Those were some rockin' hairstyles back in the day.
I'm telling you, middle part is better.
Yeah, I guess.
Am I not going to finish my quiz?
Oh, you did. Sorry, I put in the answer for you, and I was going to put it on the screen.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, you were also Gen Z.
Of course.
Yeah, according to BuzzFeed.
Of course.
And then also the attitudes between millennials and Gen Z tend to be different, as this meme expresses. Whereas millennials are like, nothing in life matters, and it's like very emo and
like, sad,
whatever.
depressing.
Gen Z is just like, nothing in life matters, and they just kind of embrace it.
Yeah.
There's a very existential quality about Gen Zs, but it's not existential dread. It's just it's existential embrace. I don't know what to call it, but they're just like, yeah, we're all gonna die, and everything sucks, and
but we're thriving.
Let's laugh about it.
Exactly. Which I guess is like a good way of seeing things, like if you think about it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's not a good way of seeing things just
because
but I mean, you're like, oh, we're all gonna die. But at the same time, you're like not just like depressed and like, oh, why am I gonna do anything for if we're all gonna die? You know what I mean?
There's
like,
the stereotype of hopelessness with millennials that they're at least not fully giving into. I'd like a little more actual optimism instead of let's just laugh at it because we can't do anything. Right. Let's try and actually make things better or whatever, and maybe that's under the surface. There's definitely some of that. Yeah. Again, talking in very broad generalities, but I agree that they're kind of let's try and do things a little bit more.
Yeah, they just the thing is like they can't take themselves seriously though.
Yeah.
In my opinion, but that's also because they're kids.
Seriously, yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's the thing. It's like, going to be interesting the next 5 to 10 years.
So
when they get to college and beyond.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Because the oldest Gen Z, according to this, are what, 25?
26.
26.
Yeah.
So they're still
pretty young.
I mean, they're adults, but
yeah. So you know what I mean? 4 years, the first ones will start hitting 30, theoretically. And that's when it's kind of like, okay, you've got a bit of a career and you can start doing things in politics and everywhere. But you know what I mean? Like right now, the hip, young, big politicians are millennials that are younger millennials, you know, like thinking Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and people like that. So once the Gen Zs get out there, who knows what that's going to be like. Oh, yeah. It'll be fun. But, you know, kind of all those big things in the national spotlight slowly build over time, you know? I forget who he is, but somebody at UGA was telling me they have, not a friend, but somebody they knew from undergrad, or maybe he was like the class president or something like that. But he was elected to Georgia state representative position, like straight out of graduation from college, like within the last couple of years. So there's that's probably pretty rare, but stuff like that happens, you know.
Yeah.
And so they're slowly out there.
Crazy.
So anyways, it is kind of crazy. And then there is this whole idea that Harry Potter just isn't popular with Gen Z anymore, as this meme talks about. Which this meme talks about a lot of things, but
well, it's because the Harry Potter stuff. Yeah, exactly, and it was done when the younger Gen Z was born. You know what I mean?
I remember seeing the last movie in theaters when I was like 14.
Exactly.
15,
so that's
maybe?
The thing. Like, even though the first couple of movies we were kids, like we were very, very young, we still kind of grew up with them. Like because there were still books and movies coming out, we still like got hooked into that. But because that's it. Like, it's over.
Yeah.
They were too young to.
And the Fantastic Beasts stuff.
We've
had 2 or 3 movies now. 3 movies now. But like, if you're not into it, you're gonna be like, "What is this?" Like, it's clearly made for somebody who already knows that universe. It's not made to get new people on board. I'm sure some new people have, but it's just not the way it goes.
To me, it's the same thing with Star Wars. Like, and like big films, big franchises like that. It's not like it's dying, but it is because the kids didn't. These kids didn't grow up with them. They like, it was done when they were already like growing up or like understanding this type of movies and stuff. They were just too young. So for us, it's still like, wow, Harry Potter or Star Wars, because we grew up with it.
Yeah.
And even then, like, people my age, like, you really like Star Wars and Harry Potter, and I really like Harry Potter. I like Harry Potter more than Star Wars. I barely saw the movies, like the Star Wars movies. But my friend, she's a couple years older than us. She's 26, and she's like super into Star Wars. And I mean, of course, those type of things are also has to do with like what you like in your personality, but at the same time, is like she's more into it than us because she was older when she saw them, so she understood even more. You know what I mean?
And Star Wars is also a unique case because we'll do an episode on Star Wars sometime. Star Wars is a unique case because the prequel movies came out in the early thousands, and so all the parents who liked Star Wars could now take their kids to the start of the story, and then you'd watch the old movies too, and so a bunch of us got hooked that way. But and maybe, I'm sure plenty of kids have gone to the sequel trilogy, but that stuff's crap. So this turned into a Star Wars episode. But anyways, it's a little different, but
yeah, it's dying because they were too young.
Yeah. And then, of course, there's the standard thing about how Gen Zs are, what is the term they use? Technological natives, or whatever it is. Like the first generation to grow up completely with technology. And, obviously that's an overstatement, but, what people mean when they say that is smartphones, laptops, all the stuff we talked about earlier. They have had since birth, and we kind of talked about how we were part of the transition to that stuff becoming a big deal. And so this one meme talks about how, like, 90s and thousands kids, we were all telling our parents about, outside we were playing a game and somebody fell and got hurt, and we were playing football, soccer, or whatever. Whereas now they're just hiding in their rooms playing video games and talking on Twitter and whatever else they do. So that one to me rings pretty true, because even though we're only born 4 years apart, my sister and I feel like she's way more into being on her phone than I am, and is perfectly content. Like, she doesn't really want to go outside and play and do things. I mean, it's also different when you move around a lot and you don't make that many friends necessarily everywhere you go. But yeah, I'd say there's a noticeable difference because we both had that situation, where she wanted to just be on her phone, and that's it. And that's fine. You can talk to your friends that are half across the world, like, it's not like I don't do that, but that's all you do, and it's memes and social media, and that's it. So that one makes me pretty sad. And so on that one I feel pretty millennial. But that's another
me too.
thing they got here.
These kids don't know about like being friends with your neighbors or whatever, because like you didn't have anything else to do at home. Like you can play by yourself like for so long, you know what I mean? But like after that, your parents are not gonna play with you. And if you don't have siblings around your age, or even if you have siblings that are older than you or whatever around your age, sometimes they don't want to play with you anymore, or you don't want to play with them. So just going out and having your friends over, or literally just like playing with your neighbors outside of the house, like it's just sad that they don't have that anymore.
Yeah, it's pretty sad.
It's like I mean, there are still some kids because their parents force them to basically do that and not be on their tablets or whatever for the longest time. But it's harder now because all the other kids, even though your parents are like forcing you to go out or whatever, the other kids are
there's no other kids out.
Yeah, exactly.
You're just standing there by yourself.
So that's the sad part.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah, it's pretty tough.
I remember playing with my cousins. That's all we did was like run around the house, literally. Like we would just play hide and seek, play tag, or play board games, or just like be around the house. Like it was, sometimes we would watch like something on the TV, but it was like rare too, because like we'd rather play with each other and like interact with each other than watch a movie or something, you know.
Right.
So nowadays that rarely happens. Like you invite your friend over just to be on your phones. Like each of you is on their phone and they just like make comments every once in a while, but that's it. They don't like necessarily interact with each other that much.
Right. That's a funny one. Going back to the idea that millennials just are kind of useless. Boomer, I've learned how to achieve wealth through hard work. Gen Z, I've learned that my voice and actions can inspire real change. Me, a millennial, my Instagram presence gets me free shampoo. That's very funny.
We're so old.
I know.
Funny.
Oh man. Oof. This one is a little too real. The millennials versus Gen Z stuff is so weird and desperate. You are 35 years old. It doesn't matter if 17-year-olds think your jeans are cool. The fact that there's even beef is kind of a point of like the millennials are childish and need to grow up. Like, dude, you're not in high school. Don't worry about what the high schoolers think of you.
Exactly.
That's very funny.
That is very funny.
That's another good one. Millennials to Gen Z as the recession nears. First time? Which, I don't know. That's always the thing, is like, millennials will be like, well, you know, we've inherited a crappy world, and so we deserve to be hopeless and pessimistic and stuff. I'm kind of like, I don't know about that, dude. Yeah. Like, I don't know. 20th century seems pretty rough to me. And they just kept on trucking. Because you guys are like, dude, the recession, oh my gosh. Like, don't want to diminish that. Of course people were harmed, but the Great Depression kind of happened in the 30s. I don't know why millennials get the right to be so down on themselves. But again, we're talking in stereotypes. But yeah. Has Gen Z discovered that adult millennials used to form Quidditch leagues? Oh man, fun stuff. That's a good one too. That's one of the best tweets I've ever seen. Boomers, no gay marriage. Millennials, yes gay marriage. Gen Z, yes gay, no marriage.
I mean, it's pretty...
that's very accurate. The Gen Z just doesn't really seem to care about traditional structures in general, marriage being one of them. Which, in that way, I'm very Gen Z. I don't think I'm ever going to get married. I don't think so. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, we're really running out of stuff, man.
Silence.
I thought there would be more.
The rest of the episode was in silence.
Let's give you an experience of what it's like to be a millennial.
We have to tweet about it.
Yeah.
Do they use Twitter?
I don't know.
Okay. I thought they did. I don't know.
You know, I almost applied for a job the other day, but then I didn't.
Oh, that's good.
Want some avocado toast?
I thought that was Gen Z.
See, I thought that was a millennial thing to me.
Woo! Controversial. I don't know. I actually don't know. I thought it was a Gen Z thing. I've definitely seen more like younger people do that, like the avocado thing, and they're vegan and milk.
Once the trendy, overpriced breakfast of choice for millennials indulging their signature brunch habit, or grabbing a post-SoulCycle bite, avocado toast became a symbol of all that was wrong with millennial culture back in 2017.
Oh wow, that's a long time ago.
When, yeah, so I always thought it was a millennial thing, the avocado toast.
I thought it was a Gen Z, but yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
probably right.
Everyone in California, but the rest of the country.
Right. Okay.
Who does it belong to?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, what I've learned today is that I don't want to be in either of those groups.
I know.
At all.
Well, it's because the stereotypes are like so crazy.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I think negative stereotypes percolate more. And so.
It's a fun word.
That is a fun word. So, of course, nobody's going to be like, oh, don't you just love avocado toast? I love millennials. You know what I mean? Like, also, to me, I don't like avocados in the first place. Spreading it on toast? Nah.
You're crazy, but okay.
Yeah, thank you.
I love avocado, and I love avocado.
You like it on toast?
Yeah, avocado toast is yummy. Maybe I'm a millennial. I don't know.
No. But anyways, yeah, that's the thing is it's negative stereotypes. And it's harder to even develop a positive stereotype, especially for Gen Z when you are just kids and everybody hates kids.
Yeah, in general, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, some kids are better than others at different ages, but you know, the front edge of Gen Z culture being high school, now bleeding into college, that is a group of people that are just like immature and going through adolescence, and so people don't like them, and so of course it's going to be negative stereotypes. Now millennials, you guys have had time to correct the record, and sorry, you just stink.
You just stink.
Maybe we just stink. I don't know where I am, but I don't know. There's probably good things that millennials do too. Not good enough to make a positive stereotype, but
right, yeah.
I don't know. People just living their lives are typically good people, so I don't think it's like, you know. And that's the other thing is, at the end of the day, it is all arbitrary of where you draw the lines of, you know, everybody from 1994 to 2004 with us in the middle of that group is probably closer together than people from 2015 to 2004, even though they're technically in the same generation. So that's also why it's weird. It's all arbitrary. Things evolve. That's why we do some things that Gen Zs do, like part our hair in the middle and wear looser jeans. But we're also not the kids in high school, and so we do some things like millennials, like complain and have existential dread. Use Facebook.
I actually don't think millennials use Facebook.
I have no idea anymore.
But complain and just
But yeah, because the other thing is now I looked it up during our right. I looked it up during our break, but Generation Alpha is the generation after Z apparently. And again, it depends who you ask, but I saw one site that said 2012, one 2015, one even said like, oh no, I think it said 2012 because it said 10-year-olds. I thought it was 2010 for a second. But anyway, 2012 to 15 being the cutoff of a new generation. And it's like, okay, if kids born in 2012 are...
It's crazy to me.
I know that kids are even born in 2012.
You know what I mean? Like,
right this second, somebody is pushing a baby out. That's insane.
Yeah, like, what year were you born?
In
2020.
This year. Kids born in 2019 can talk. Kids born in 2020 can probably start to be talking. Isn't that the weirdest thing?
That's so
Doesn't that make
crazy
you feel so old?
I know, it's so crazy.
Like, I remember...
in my head, people stopped being born after I was born.
Exactly, of course.
Like, I was born and nobody else had any more kids.
Exactly. Overpopulation was solved. But that's the thing, is like growing up, I'm used to telling people about my sister being born in 2003 and being like, wow, that's crazy. 21st century baby. Whoa.
Yeah, that is crazy to me.
But yeah, there were babies born yesterday.
I know.
That's
today.
crazy. Today too, probably 2 seconds ago, 3. Anyways,
4.
but with the Generation Alpha thing, so a kid born in 2012 is 10 years old. So they would be in 4th grade, I guess. Yeah, question mark. I think 4th grade.
Talked about that,
so we did. But anyways, so I think that kid would be in 4th grade.
Okay.
We're about to start 4th grade.
Mm-hmm.
And you then have a kid who's technically Gen Z who is about to start 5th grade. So are you really going to tell me that the soon-to-be 5th grader has much more in common with all these Gen Zs and what we define as Gen Z than a kid that's a year younger who's now going to be defined by a completely different set of qualities that are yet to be defined, because trends 10 and 15 years from now will be different, and then we'll lump all of those people into that group?
Mm-hmm.
Of course not. That's just not how it works. So at the end of the day, it's stupid.
It is very
but
stupid. But it's interesting to talk about, and it's interesting to see the differences.
And it's, it's the way that...
And people always like to box themselves, and people like to
that's
box
what I was
other
gonna
people
say.
too.
That's
so
how
that's why we
human
are so
beings
conflicted.
Perceive the world, is we need nice little categories to put things in, and then once society as a whole makes those categories, you're like, well, I don't like that. I'm an individual. I don't like either of those. So let me be something else. And that's how we got to this idea for a podcast.
Right.
So, anyways.
No, it's because, we just like to be boxed in things.
We do like to be in boxes, but then we don't like the boxes we've made for ourselves.
Uh-huh.
There's a lesson in there somewhere.
Wow, yeah.
Anyways.
Maybe inside the box.
Maybe inside the box. I agree. So yeah, be yourself. Be an individual. Don't be a stereotype. But if you are a stereotype, that's okay. Good night.
Good night. I think that we can leave it like that.